Members, please take your seats. We're about to take up a condolence resolution for the death of a former member of the House. Sergeant at Arms will please clear the aisles. Please move any conversations off the rear of the House. Members, please take your seats. Sergeant at Arms will please close the doors of the House, and the clerk will read the condolence resolution.
Whereas the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania wishes to honor the memory of the Honorable Fred McIlhattan, a former member of the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania, who passed away at the age of 75 on June 10, 2020. And whereas, born in Butler on September 22, 1944, Mr. McIlhattan was a graduate of Keystone High School, the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science, and Clarion State College. He began his career as manager of the Roy P. Stewart Funeral Home and also worked for Owens, Illinois Glass Plant, Inc., Clarion University, and as a substitute teacher in the North Clarion School District. Elected as the youngest mayor of the borough of Knox in 1969, Mr. McIlhattan served as a Clarion County Commissioner from 1979 to 1987, which included 8 years as chair. He served as executive assistant to former Senators John Peterson and Tim Schaefer prior to his 1996 election to the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania, where he served the 63rd Legislative District for 6 consecutive terms. A past chair of the House Appropriation Committee Education on Subcommittee, Mr. McIlhattan served on the State Government, Health and Human Services, Appropriations, and Gaming Oversight Committees. A member of the Knox United Methodist Church, he was active with various boards and commissions throughout northwestern Pennsylvania, including the Executive Board of the Northwest Pennsylvania Regional Planning and Development Commission and the Clarion University Council of Trustees. And he was an advocate for the Milton Hershey School. A beloved family member, dedicated legislator, and avowed community steward, Mr. McIlhattan gave of his heart and time to enhance the quality of his life, of his family and community, and his loss will be felt by the many individuals who knew, admired, and loved him. Now therefore be it resolved that the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania proclaim with enduring sorrow the passing of the Honorable Fred McIlhattan and extend heartfelt condolences to his wife of 45 years, Teresa Parsons McIlhattan, son Frederick Jr., daughter Andrea Stake, granddaughter Leah Stake, and many other family members and friends. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution, sponsored by the Honorable Donna Oberlander, on September 18, 2020, be transmitted to Teresa Parsons McIlhattan.
Those in favor of the resolution will rise and remain standing as a mark of respect for the deceased former member. Guests will please also rise. The resolution has been unanimously adopted. Members and guests, you may be seated. On the resolution, the chair recognizes the gentlewoman, Representative Oberlander.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this afternoon's condolence resolution not only honors a dedicated and hardworking former member of the House of Representatives, but it also recognizes a longtime public servant, and to many of us, a very dear friend. Many of you who were blessed to have met and/or worked with Fred remember his bright smile, his never-ending optimism, and his ability to get things done. Fred was the ultimate consensus builder. From his days working as the youngest mayor in Knox Borough, to his work as a county commissioner in Clarion County, to his days as a Senate staffer, to his 12 years as a member here, Fred was all about his district, His slogan was a lifetime of helping people, and he truly did that. His greatest accomplishment wasn't the number of bills he sponsored or the projects for which he advocated back home in Clarion and Armstrong counties, although he did many of those things. His proudest achievements were the people he represented, and at the top of his list were his family. His wife, Teresa, his son, JR, and his significant other, Amy, his daughter, Andrea, and her husband, Brian, and their daughter, the light of Fred's life, his granddaughter, Leah. Will you please stand to be recognized? Thank you. Thank you for joining us to honor this incredible man. We also have with us today former Speaker Mike Turzai, Representative Julie Harhart, Representative now Judge Craig Daly. Will you please stand to be recognized as well? When I think of these friends and colleagues of Fred, I think of him camping with the former Speaker and his sons. I think of Representative Harhart and Fred at the fire school and the fun pictures we had from that. And I think of you, Judge, and his appreciation for your intelligence and your wit and your humor. You will also hear from the Majority Leader and Fred's classmate, Carrie Benninghoff, shortly. Fred was a people person. He never had an unkind word to say about anyone, and he would do whatever he could to assist those who needed his help. And Fred knew everyone, here in the Capitol and back home. He cared about you. He knew you, your name, your family, your issues, your children, your concerns. He knew what was going on good in your life. He knew what wasn't going so good, and he cared about it. He was famous for his incredible contact list, and specifically the growing Rolodex that he took everywhere, generally in the top of a paper box lid with the other things of importance. He carried that thing everywhere. He never left home without it. He relished his work as a member, but he loved life from every aspect. He was involved in so many things, and he enjoyed the adventure. In addition to his immediate family, there is another family with whom Fred spent a lot of time and advocated for, both as a member and during his retirement, and that was the Milton Hershey School. And we were so blessed to have his advocacy because nearly 30 children from Clarion County area have benefited from that advocacy and attended the Milton Hershey School. It was his mission to give those kids a tremendous education, no matter what obstacles they were facing in their lives. And a few months before his sudden death, we had the opportunity to have a policy committee tour there. And I can tell you that I have never seen Fred so proud and just shining with all that they do and how much they make a difference in people's lives. And I'm so glad we had a chance to make that happen. Whenever anyone would ever ask Fred how he was doing, he would always reply, "Living the dream, my friend, living the dream." Well, Fred, as you look down upon us today, we know that you lived that dream. And we know that you helped many of us live our dreams as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair thanks the lady and recognizes the gentleman, Leader Benninghoff.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What do you say about Fred McIlhattan? A lot could be said about Fred. He's probably one of the funniest guys a lot of people didn't know. Fred and I shared an office for a long time, and one of the funny things at nighttime was Fred would always polish his shoes every night on his glass desk, but they always looked great. For me, I always think mostly about Fred, about the fact that he respected his building, he respected his colleagues, and differences of opinions. If Fred disagreed with you, he didn't do it in an aggressive manner to the point of wanting to persuade you that you were wrong and that he was right. Something to be admired. As somebody who never really liked math class, maybe it wasn't math that I learned it, but there was an old saying that the shortest distance between 2 points was a straight line. Fred re-identified that for me, and anybody else that ever went for a drive with Fred. One night we were going to go to dinner out towards Hershey. Said, "I'll drive, I know a shortcut." 45 minutes later, we still weren't there. So for those of you who went to Hershey, most people know that's about 10 miles. So if you're in a hurry, or even if you just want to go across the road, don't ask Fred for a ride. I love the man dearly, but that was kind of fun. Fred had a great excitement for the long outdoors that a lot of people didn't know about. He loved nature. He loved going hiking, he liked going biking. And I think some of that was his faith, that he appreciated his surroundings. Not things that you could buy or things that were tangible you could take away, but things that were there just because God wanted them to be there. Fred saw himself as part of that, as well as each one of us. There's many great things that I can say about Fred, and I don't want to belabor it, but I will say I believe my life has been enhanced by the fact that he was in that. Fred served under a senator prior to me, but you wouldn't know that as a rookie coming in here. Fred and I actually came in the same class. He never tried to upstage you or say, "Well, I've been here longer, I worked for a senator and I know these things." He would listen patiently, share his opinion, but not beat somebody else down. I'll close with the fact that my belief of Fred and the measurement of quality of human being that he was one, love of his family, his children, his wife. But friendships were very, very valuable to Fred. And you know why I know that? Because Fred's friendships didn't stop with his retirement. When my daughter was sick, Fred was very attentive. He'd call, see, "How are you doing?" After Riley died, Fred continued to do that. Fred would reach out to Riley's mother, independent of reaching out to me, because in his heart, he knew her loss was just as great, if not more. Many of those times were unbeknownst to me, but I thought that that spoke to what a true human being is about, what a gentleman's about, what a professed Christian's about, and just an all-around good guy. So to his family, to his friends, for allowing them to share Fred with us, for the time that he was here, the impact that he put on Pennsylvania, we're a better state, a better country, and a better chamber because Fred McIlhattan served. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair, thanks, gentlemen. The gentleman, Representative Knowles, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am indeed honored to be here to memorialize the representative. I got to know Fred when I worked for the House. I worked for the whip at the time, that was Representative Dave Wargel. And Fred was a deputy whip, and we would talk often about our things that we had in common in terms of being mayors and in terms of being county commissioners. I remember one day after the meeting was leaving out, Fred and I were talking, and there were two other legislators that were there, and they were talking about how they could have a job elsewhere and they could be making much more money. And I said to Fred, "Fred, what do you have to say?" And Fred said, "This is the best damn job I ever had. I love this place." Fred was a great guy. He was a caring guy. He was a good legislator. And I am honored to have known him and to have the opportunity to talk with him. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair, thanks, gentlemen. Chair also wishes to express my sorrow and condolences. I had the privilege of serving briefly with Fred, what I always marveled at was the way he would always take me as a new member under his wing. He'd make sure I got to the receptions. He'd make sure I got to meet the people that I needed to meet. And he always had a kind word to say, as the leader mentioned. And I just always appreciated his servanthood and his approach to leadership. And I thought it was great, and he will be greatly missed. So thank you for sharing him with us. That'll conclude the condolence resolution. At this time, the Sergeant at Arms may open the doors of the House. and we'll be temporarily at ease if the guests wish to mingle briefly and then can exit at their leisure.